And welcome everyone to Beyond the Forecast for your Thursday. I am Chief Meteorologist Michael Stevens, and today we're going to have a pretty jam-packed show. First up, we do have an enhanced risk of severe weather coming up later this evening and into tonight. So with that being said, we're going to jump into severe weather criteria just to get you weather ready and prepped for the possibility of those strong and severe storms later this evening. And you'll get more on those storms coming up on 910 News at 5 and 6. So don't worry about that. We're just going to be explaining what you can expect or what you should be looking out for when it comes to the possibility of those severe storms. So if you have a watch or a warning, what's the difference between that? But also what makes a severe thunderstorm. So we'll have that coming up for you, and then we'll send it over to meteorologist John Gross, who is going to be talking about vehicle heat safety and what you need to be on the lookout for with warmer weather returning to northern Michigan as well as vehicles. So we'll have that coming up for you throughout this show. But first up, let's talk about this day in weather history. May 15th, 1952, high winds in Wasatch Canyon of Utah struck Ogden and Brigham City. Winds at Hill Air Force Base gusted upwards of 92 miles per hour. Just straight wind gusts at 92 miles per hour. And it's because they funnel. And there's a simple explanation for that, especially when you start getting into the mountainous parts of North America. If those winds are coming in and they're squeezed into a more valley, well, it's like a hose, right? If you turn a hose on and the water's streaming out of the hose, it's just a stream of water. But when you put your thumb on it, that water still has to go through those openings at the same amount that you had it before. So you're speeding it up. So if those winds funnel into a canyon, they still want to go the same spot. All of that wind, it gets sped up. And that's what happened here. It's really mesoscale, if you will, for meteorologists. It's a higher course in college, but it is speeding that up. So the physics of it all, the wind is still trying to go through a spot altogether and get sped up. And so on the other side, you're seeing those wind gusts upwards of 92 miles per hour on May 15th, 1952 in Utah. So that's pretty wild. Now, trivia. Yesterday, we wanted to know, on average, how many named storms do we have in an Atlantic hurricane season? Is it 14, 7, 20, or 18? That's 14. That is, on average, how many named storms we have off of the Atlantic Ocean every year when it comes to hurricanes. Now, today, we're asking, true or false, lightning usually follows a volcanic eruption. QR code. Hit it. Give your answer. True or false? Again, lightning usually follows a volcanic eruption. We'll have the answer tomorrow on Beyond the Forecast. Now, viewer photo of the day brought to you by Great Rooms, as always. Today's wonderful photo sent in from Terry Rummel. Now, this is a great picture of a hummingbird. Those hummers are back and in full force across northern Michigan, but check out this picture. She said it's beautiful hummingbird in Metz. So thank you so much, Terry, for sending in that beautiful picture of that hummingbird. I actually got to see one in my yard 2 days ago, and it's the first time my wife has seen a hummer at our house since we moved in 15 years. So it was really cool to see it jump into our apple tree as it blossomed, and the hummer was going from flower to flower. So pretty cool. They're back across northern Michigan. So thank you to Terry for sending in that picture, and thank you to Great Rooms for sponsoring viewer photo of the day. Now, coming up, I'm going to explain severe weather criteria. We have an enhanced risk, a level 3 risk out of 5 for severe weather here this evening for parts of northern Michigan. We're going to break down what to look for when it comes to severe weather. We'll have those details right after the break.
And welcome back, everyone, to Beyond the Forecast. Today, we're going to tell you what makes a thunderstorm severe. So the severe criteria when thunderstorms start to form, winds of at least 58 miles per hour or more, and then you also get hail I should say, of 1 inch or more in diameter. So if a thunderstorm starts to develop, for it to go severe, it needs to have one of these criteria in it. And whether that's seen by people on the ground or indicated by radar, that will trigger a severe thunderstorm warning. Now, a severe thunderstorm watch is very different, but we'll break all of that down coming up here very shortly. So you need winds of at least 58 miles per hour, so you could also have just hail of 1 inch or more in diameter, and then also a tornado has formed. That is where you get severe thunderstorms, but then if you get a tornado that is indicated, whether it's by radar or if someone sees a tornado forming, more than likely you're going to be placed in that tornado warning immediately. So that is what makes a thunderstorm severe. And then if you want a tornado warning, a tornado is either forming or is indicated by radar that it could possibly be forming. That will give you a tornado warning. So let's take a look at how a severe thunderstorm just develops. How does this happen? Well, the science of it isn't all that hard. You get a lot of warm air at the surface, which we call the fuel for the thunderstorm, or CAPE. A lot of that energy starts to rise. When you get those very warm, very muggy days, warm air rises. So as that warm air rises, you start getting to the cumulus stage, where the cooler air aloft starts turning it into those clouds, those cumulus clouds. And that upward motion continues to build. As it gets stronger and stronger and stronger, those clouds continue to build. And as those clouds continue to grow, we call this the mature stage of a thunderstorm. Now that strong updraft and then starts forming a strong downdraft. So with those two drafts, you get the strong updraft forming the storm, getting that warm air into the storm, making it stronger. It starts making that very strong downdraft. So whenever something comes in, more than likely something's got to come out. And that's where the downdraft comes in. It starts giving you those extremely gusty winds. But it also, with that warm air rising, starts to form hail. And the bigger the cloud, the more room the hail has to move up and bounce around and come down and then eventually fall to the ground. That is where you start getting the very large sizes of hail, but also the very strong and severe storms. So then as the storm starts to kind of break down, that's where we call the storms fading, starting to dissipate stage. But the severe storm criteria is right after the mature stage, where you could possibly have a tornado, sizable hail, those extremely gusty winds with the downdraft. That is what makes a severe thunderstorm severe. Winds of 58 miles or more, 58 miles per hour or more, hail at least 1 inch in diameter, and possibly that threat for a tornado. So what's the difference between a watch and a warning? We get this all the time, so let's break that down for you, because a severe thunderstorm watch is very different than a severe thunderstorm warning. Imagine it this way, and you'll hear people talk about this. Put food where there's severe thunderstorm. All right, so let's say taco watch or taco warning. If you have a taco watch, tacos are being made. They're going to be prepped for dinner. If you have a taco warning, it means those tacos are going to be eaten. They're going to be demolished. So a severe thunderstorm watch, severe weather hasn't been reported or indicated. It just means the conditions for the day are right to help support and build severe thunderstorms. So a severe thunderstorm watch means you're watching the conditions for the changing of the weather and possibly some severe weather to develop. A severe thunderstorm watch, you don't have to take shelter immediately. It's just watch the conditions. Go do whatever you plan on doing, but be watchful of the skies, because all of a sudden things might change and you could start seeing severe thunderstorms build and develop. Now, always have a plan with a severe thunderstorm watch, and also you should monitor those weather conditions very closely with a severe thunderstorm watch, because things can turn on a dime. But if severe weather is not happening with a severe thunderstorm watch at the moment you see a severe thunderstorm watch, it just could happen later. But you also don't need to take shelter. Now, when you head over to a severe thunderstorm warning, warning means it is happening right now. And that's where you need to take shelter immediately. The severe weather has been reported or indicated by radar. Don't have time to plan in some cases. So what you need to do is have a plan set in place already. So when things start to happen, you have that plan ready to go. And that's the whole point of Severe Weather Awareness Week, is to look at the plan you have, or maybe get a plan in place. So when severe thunderstorms start to move in and we get into severe thunderstorm or tornado season, you can look at that plan and be like, all right, I need to do this when these conditions start happening. Whether it's for a severe thunderstorm watch and you need to watch the conditions to see if severe thunderstorms develop, or if it's a warning and conditions are already happening and what you need to do now to keep safe. And then yes, you should definitely find a way to monitor or be able to see the conditions as they're happening from your safe place. The best thing to do is grab the Doppler 910 weather app or the app of your choice, or also have in your safe place some way of getting the information, whether it's a phone, whether it's a TV, social media platforms, whatever it is. Have a way to monitor what the storms are doing for your location. So that is the best way that you can do that and be aware and ready for those storms. Now let's turn the page to tornado watches and warnings. Again, Watch means it's not happening, but conditions are favorable for it throughout the day. So you do not have to take shelter immediately. There hasn't been a tornado reported. It's just conditions are right for the making of a tornado. Now, have a plan, of course, and yes, you should monitor the conditions very closely. Now, tornado warning, again, means that there has been an indicated or reported tornado forming or on the ground, and you need to take shelter immediately if you're in that warning. And then you don't have time to plan. That is why we always tell you, make sure you have a plan in place if this happens. And a lot of people think, well, it's not going to happen for us. We've never seen a tornado in my lifetime. That is not the case. Tornadoes don't pick and choose where they form. It's just the conditions have to be right at the exact locations. So always, doesn't matter where you're at, have a plan of what to do in a watch and what to do immediately in a warning. And then, yes, also have a way to monitor the conditions closely. And in a tornado warning in your safe place, make sure you have a way of communicating with loved ones or authorities, and also have a way of keeping track, whether it's us on social media platforms or weather app or on TV or NOAA weather radio, have ways of keeping yourself informed. Now with tornadoes, they break down into 5 categories. 6 really if you want to call an EF0 tornado. It's a very small tornado, but these are how it breaks down with the enhanced Fujita scale. It goes from EF0 to EF5. EF5 is the largest, EF0 is the smallest. Now, what isn't a tornado that would be right around 0, 1, and 2 sometimes is straight line winds, and that's a completely different factor and different type of severe weather, but we'll also be covering that as we head through this week. But the types of damage you can see increases with the strength of those winds. 3-second wind gust of 200 or more is an EF5. A 3-second wind gust of 136 to 165 miles per hour is an EF3. So the bigger the number, the bigger the tornado. And these tornadoes, once you get down to 3, 4, and 5, very, very strong, very, very wide, and just demolishes what's in its path. When you get 0, 1, and 2, you can do some shingle damage. You can do windows broken, mobile homes overturned, roofs torn off. When you get to 3, 4, and 5, that's when you see houses picked up and moved, or you see well-constructed homes swept away, just completely demolished once you get down towards EF5, even brick buildings. So that is kind of how the enhanced Fujita scale works. But to give you an idea, Michigan, we've seen all of these tornadoes throughout history. We've seen 0 to 5. In our neck of the woods, as of recent, just a few years ago, you might recall the Gaylord tornado. That was a high-end EF3, almost EF4. So with that all being said, make sure you have a plan in place, not day of. Make sure you have a plan of what happens when severe weather does hit, whether it's a severe thunderstorm watch or a severe thunderstorm warning. Again, remember, watch, not happening right now. Warning, get to a safe place. Both severe thunderstorms and tornadoes, that's what you need to remember. And have ways of keeping it connected to us, because once we get warnings or watches, we will let you know what's happening and where they are as they're happening live, whether it's on our socials or whether it's on TV. That is where you need to be. We'll be right back with more from Beyond the Forecast.
Now, coming up next on Beyond the Forecast, we are going to send it over to meteorologist John Gross, who's going to talk about vehicle heat safety. We'll have those details right after the break.
Hey there, everybody. Meteorologist John Gross, and today we're going to be focusing in on temperatures and how it relates to the inside of your car. Now, you probably have been in a scenario where you might have had to go into a store or pick up something or do something really, really quick. That was only going to take a few minutes, and maybe you got the dog in the car, maybe you have your kids in the car, anybody in the car. Temperatures inside a vehicle, when you're talking about summertime, if you're in the direct sunlight, it can get very, very hot very, very quickly, and it can turn very, very dangerous. And unfortunately, we have seen deaths happening from overheating, exhaustion, things of that nature. So main thing, before we start to get into some of the numbers, never leave kids or pets inside a hot vehicle, even if it's for just a few minutes, because it's very, very dangerous. Even cracking the window, you might think, well, you're letting in a nice breeze. Doesn't really make much of a difference. So here's a look at some charts that we're talking about. Now, on your x-axis, you're talking about time in minutes. And on the y-axis, we're talking about the temperature inside the vehicle over time. So our air temperature outside, here's a look at it. We're starting at 85 degrees. Just in 10 minutes, you're talking about temperatures already in the triple digits. That's just 10 minutes. Once you start to get to a half hour, you're approaching 120. And once you get closer to an hour, you're approaching temperatures inside the vehicle at 130 degrees. Now, when we're talking about normal temperatures outside on a very hot day, or it can be even a very humid day, we're usually talking about numbers in the 90s, even approaching 100, but you're adding 10, 20, even 30 degrees on top of that. And that's only temperatures at 85 degrees. Let's up the temperature. So now temperatures outside, you're at 90 degrees. Within 10 minutes, within even 5 minutes, you're already getting temperatures close to 100. Once you're going closer to a half hour, you're closer to 125. And once you get closer to an hour, your temperatures are peaking over 130 degrees, even getting closer to 140 degrees. Very, very hot conditions. That's a place no person should be for a long period of time. Let's go ahead and up the temperature again. Now we're at 95 degrees. Within 10 minutes, 114. Very, very hot conditions. 20 minutes, 124 degrees. And even still, a half hour, you're at that 130 mark, and you're peaking closer to 140. You could even get instances where the numbers get closer to 150 within an hour. So very, very dangerous conditions. Not a place to be, especially for kids, especially for pets, in a hot vehicle for any long period of time, because you could just see how quickly the temperatures inside the vehicle, just within 10 minutes, can get very, very hot and very, very dangerous. So maybe you might think, oh, well, I left the window cracked. They'll be fine for a few minutes. 10 minutes, no problem. I'll be right back. Well, here's a look at temperatures at 92. So you got the windows cracked or even closed. Notice how close those two lines are. Difference in temperature, you're talking maybe 10 degrees. But even still, within 10 minutes, even with the windows cracked, you're already pushing into the triple digits. So even leaving the window cracked doesn't really make much of a difference in quote-unquote cooling off the inside of your vehicle. It's still going to become very, very hot very, very quickly, especially if you happen to be parked within the direct sunlight. Not going to be a place to be again for pets or kids. So going over heat exhaustion, heat safety, that is at the top of our list. And new vehicles, nowadays, they even have a feature in the car to when you turn it off, it tells you or it reminds you to check your back seat. Because unfortunately, we have seen time and time again of deaths, not only from pets, but even small children being left in a car, forgetting them in the car, thinking they'll be fine in the car for about 10 or 15 minutes. So just try to avoid it altogether, making sure that everybody that you love is staying safe and staying cool. And just other heat exhaustion tips, hydration. Water is key. Our bodies are made of 2/3 water, so when you're sweating it out to try and cool off your body naturally, you need to replace that water. So making sure that you are staying hydrated, drinking water, not sport energy drinks, not alcohol. You can enjoy something like that, but in moderation, especially when you're talking about very, very hot conditions. So hydration, key, trying to reduce any strenuous activities outside if you can. I know certain jobs require you to work in very hot conditions for long periods of time. So making sure that you're taking breaks at times if your body needs it, trying to find shade, trying to find any AC, maybe putting a cold towel on the back of your neck just to help to cool you off. Any of these little things can go a long way when you're talking about a very, very hot day. And last but not least, this is another one that we talk about, the clothing that you wear. It absorbs more sunlight if it's darker. So wearing lightweight, light-colored clothing can just help to keep you a few degrees cooler, not only outside, but even inside your vehicle on a very hot day. I'm meteorologist John Gross reporting for Beyond the Forecast.
Thanks, John. Very great and important information to have across northern Michigan and across the United States. Now, coming up next is our last segment for Beyond the Forecast. We'll have that right after the break.
Thank you so much for being with us today. We will catch you tomorrow, Friday, on Beyond the Forecast. So be good, stay safe, take care. We'll catch you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody.